What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Blood on the Razor Wire TV, where we bring it to you real and we bring it to you raw. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, share the video, and make sure you leave a comment. Got a guest on today that some of you might know, some of you might not know, but you should definitely check out his channel. I'll let him introduce himself and tell you about who he is and talk a little bit about his channel, and we'll get into some of this stuff that's going on out in the world. You know, most recently, last night, Sauce Walker, the rapper, almost got robbed and someone ended up dead. We might discuss that. We might discuss what's going on in the YouTube world and, you know, who's next? Who's next to start getting robbed and putting themselves in danger? Yeah. But anyway, Flacco, man, tell the people who you are, where you're from, and talk a little bit about you, brother.
I'm Flacco. I'm from Convict's Perspective. I'm out of California, Northern California, man. I have two channels, man. I have a Convict's Perspective, which talks about my experience in prison, being associated with prison gangs, basically my whole journey. I'm saying going from a convict out there to changing my life. I used to be very deeply in the mix, run with criminal organizations out there in California. As well as I have another channel called Pictures of Reality, which is the whole focal point of that is about bringing awareness to the fentanyl epidemic. That channel started off, first it was supposed to be just interviewing homeless people. But as we went out there in places like Arizona, LA, Oregon, all throughout, the West Coast, we found out that the biggest right now we're seeing with this homeless problem is this fentanyl epidemic. So basically my Convict's Perspective is a little bit of everything, man. I talk about prison gangs, I talk about current events, I talk about street gangs, and it's all about gravitating, a listener's interest while at the same time trying to have a positive message.
I mean, I've seen some of your stuff and I know that you got a positive message and, I appreciate the stuff that you're doing, especially when you're out there in the street. I was out there yesterday. And as soon as I left where I was at, about an hour later, on that very same corner where my mother lived there all her life, just moved her, and dude gets stabbed, man. They kill him, stab the shit out of him. 2 hours later, another dude gets shot and killed in my city. It's rough, but definitely appreciate, man, the work that you do, and I want people to check out your channel. I'll put it in the links and everything. But let's talk a little bit about some of the stuff that's going on. I don't know, were you able to see anything about that Sauce Walker, the rapper, the Instagram dude? I mean, this dude's all over with money and jewels.
It's kind of interesting. I dropped a video this morning, man, about rap beefs, and rap murders. And I noticed the last 4 years, there's been an uprise in murders in that rap field. You know what I mean? And I kind of went into that. Is this going to transcend into the YouTube world, the YouTube beefs? Because you're starting to see a pattern here of the jealousy, the envy, the campaigning, and so forth, man. And I've been noticing a lot more conflict on YouTube. So I looked into that, man. There wasn't really much information, but I did find out this guy's been involved in a lot of other incidents. He was involved in another shooting about a year ago. So he's pretty much put himself out there. You know what I'm saying? And it seems like every time a rapper comes from out of California into LA, someone gets shot. There's a pattern there.
It's absolutely wild, right? I mean, this dude's all over the place. I mean, big money, big chains, rapping, doing Instagram, doing promotions. And so, some young dude's like, man, I'm about to try to take what he's got. And I seen the video where the dude's laid out. They got a sheet over the guy. And at the end of the day, he tries to rob this cat and he ends up dead. So, I mean, You're taking a chance with your life when you're out there doing that stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, man. You know what I mean? But see, it's not only happening on the mainstream rappers that are pretty more well known. It's even these low, now I'm not going to call them low, local rappers. Because nowadays, because of social media, in the rap game, you can have a big following locally. You get what I'm saying? Therefore, there comes a conflict, there comes a street politics. Like, look what happened in Sacramento about what? Back in April, I think it was. 6 people got shot. The rap scene in certain areas is being dictated by the street. In the rap, another gang member got killed in San Jose recently. You know what I'm saying? Sureño, right? So there's been all kinds of different killings, and it's just not just on this mainstream platform, the lower platforms now, because people are putting themselves out there with with social media. Everything's changed the game. You know what I'm saying? 20 years ago, you would never think that you'd be seeing any of this stuff on there. So now people are more, they're more out there on Front Street, and they don't think of the consequences or circumstances that surround what they put out there. If you're going to be doing a track dissing people, if you're going to be doing a track calling people out, if you're going to be doing a track talking about your high side, there's always going to be that hungry kid out there that's going to be about that action. And you got to always take that into consideration. It's like just being in prison, man. You already know what time it is. You got to always have your shoes at all times. And security only starts within yourself. If you don't have that security up to par, man, you're gonna be caught. You're gonna be caught slacking. Something could happen.
Tell the people, I mean, we're going to talk a little more about that, but tell the people, what gang you ran with in prison. Can you do that?
I ran with basically Norteños, the Nuestra Familia, which in California you basically have four groups that are pretty well recognized. Mafia, the MA, which under their subordinates are the Sureños. And then up north you have the Nuestra Familia, the NF, which under them is the Norteños. Then you have the white groups, which you have like the Nazi lowriders, and they even have their own little split divisions. And then the blacks, the blacks really aren't as organized. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't really have any set leadership. Each one kind of operates more independent. Back in the days, you had the Black Guerrilla family, right? But they don't control the masses. So you have the Bloods, the Damus, the Crips, the 415 Kumi Cats, and you got just regular civilians. So, California is a melting pot for politics, and racial divide. So it's a little bit different compared to other states. But I'm pretty sure being in the feds, a lot of times California politics kind of dictated in the feds, I heard.
Well, I did 18 years in the feds, but as far as like the California politics, that's exactly what it is. Like, it's not, I've been in New York State prison, totally different than when I went to federal prison. And it is kind of like the California structure, and, the whites are here, the blacks are here, the Mexicans are here. People do their own, they do their own thing in their group, as far as, hey, look, there's always a shot caller for the white dudes. There's always a shot caller for, the Mexicans. Who's got the keys to the yard, right? I might be on a yard with Norteños. They got the yard. I might be on a yard, 2 years from now with the Sureños. That's how it operates over there. But how much time did you end up doing?
In total, probably as far as state time, I think a total of maybe 8 or 10 years total. Around that time, about more than half of it was in the SHU, Security Housing Unit. I got validated as a prison gang member at a young age, and back then what they used to do was they used to lock us up, throw away the key.
What makes a younger dude in California want to be involved in a gang? Is it mandatory from your neighborhood?
The gang culture has always been a big thing out there. There's so many different types of. I say California has one of the most diversified, ethnicities out there. Mexicans, you have Asians, you have blacks. You don't have anyone that's, really dominating forces out there, right? So wherever you grow up, you're gonna love that are in that neighborhood, and so gangs are just part of the culture out there. It's natural. But a big thing, LA's always been one of the supreme areas for gang activity. So when movies such as Colors, American Me, Boys in the Hood came out, all these movies, the gang culture just took off in Northern California. Whereas there was always gangs, but it was less of a, back then people used to, break dance and do stuff like that and free rap. Now everybody that was now gang banging. And so that culture just kind of, and everybody just gravitated towards it. So it's just a thing where you're growing up, you're just going to line up where you're from. It's as simple as that. There's no set reason why. But if you're growing up in a neighborhood, you're going to be part of that neighborhood. That's just how it goes. Same thing, you have divisions there. You have different groups and so forth. I compare the things that I experienced as a youth, like going to different high schools and, the different groups, the different gangs. It was almost like being on a prison yard, believe it or not. So you're already being trained at a young age to align with your people and your beliefs, even as far back as high school.
You ever have kids growing up in your neighborhood, like, let's say you got these three brothers, and the one brother, he doesn't come outside. He's kind of like minded in his own business. Are there dudes that are able to just grow up and not be involved in that stuff? And you might see the dude ends up going to the military and, now he's a cop. Do you see stuff like that, or is it like pretty much mandatory?
Yes. Yeah. You see people do like that, man. It's not strictly mandatory. You're going to have, like, I guess the best way to call it, you're going to have your associates at times. Like people that just kick with the homeboys or down with the homeboys, but if they kind of half step it, they're not punks, but they're still doing good in school and so forth. And you got those that are going to distance themselves. There's no forcing anybody that you have to be in a gang. But once you join a gang, it's kind of changed from my time. Back then, you could just get dropped lev out, which means you're no good. They mess with you. If they see you, they may smash on you or just kick the hood out your mouth. Nowadays, you do that, man, they're trying to smash you out in the streets. You got 14-year-old kids nowadays calling themselves spouse because they leave a gang. You know what I mean? That's crazy. I would have never anticipated that happening because back then it was encouraged for people to do, go to school, learn a trade, and whatnot. Nowadays, it's more about money. Once the money got involved out there with the prison politics, it changed the whole gang culture. Before it was just about gang banging, kicking it with the homies, putting in work. You know what I mean? It wasn't really about money back then. When that started to change and evolve, the whole system of these gangs changed. Now these street gangs are more aligned with the prison politics. Before they used to be separated. You had your NF, you had your structure, and then you had your street gangs. And these guys did not really dictate what you were doing on the streets. As soon as they started to control what was going on out on the streets, is when the whole game changed.
Let me ask you this, right? You ran with the NF, but I want you to keep it 100. Toughest gang in California prison system. Who is it? Is it NF? Is it the MA? Is it, the BGF? Is it the AB? Who's the toughest gang?
Okay, they're all, I'm going to say this, right? They're all treacherous, okay? They each have their pros and cons, okay? The MA have the numbers. They have the foot soldier and the Sureños. The Sureños are deep. It would be very common back in the 90s for us to go to a yard to where there's maybe 10 of us to 30 of us, and there's 200, 300 Sureños. But we used to have a more disciplined, structured program. Anybody will tell you that. The Norteños in prison, and you've probably seen it yourself in the feds, function on a whole stricter level of discipline and awareness and security. And the reason being that they do that is because they're outnumbered, But as far as the treachery, they're all treacherous. I'm not going to say one's better than the MA definitely has more foot soldiers, right? The AB has less numbers, but they're a treacherous organization as well. The blacks, they're pretty much in disarray. They don't really have any type of control out there. The system of streets, but when it's time to get off, they'll get off together though. But I really can't say the MA is more powerful, but then in a sense they kind of are, if that makes sense.
It does make sense because it was the same way in the feds, right? And I was around some Norteños and I was on a yard with them, and then eventually they did something and they ended up leaving, and all the, they brought the Sureños on there. I was in places where I was with Fox. I was in a couple different places with some of them dudes. But like you said, man, I think there's strength in numbers, right? And pretty much, dude, you're a Sureño, you're with the MA, you better handle that business if something happens, because if you don't, your ass is hit. So every one of them dudes I came across were like, they were tough. They knew they had to put in that work. But I mean, the same way with your guys, but the NF dudes, there wasn't that many. I was actually at USP Lee when they had hit a bulldog. And
in the 90s, we used to really thrive upon that. It was our motivating factor, man. And that's why we used to be able to overcome a lot of obstacles, because we're like, you know what? We're less in numbers, but you're not going to punk us. We're not going to put on our shirts. They used to try to tell us that we had to put our shirts on or we had to cut our hair and we couldn't show our tattoos. No, that ain't going to happen. And so sometimes their numbers would be their biggest weakness, because while they're over there thinking that they got it all good and dandy, we're over there plotting, preparing to do what we got to do. Now, there's less violence nowadays, but during my time there, man, we were always ready for it. We didn't care if there was like 200, 300, there's only 40, 50. We're going to get busy. And a lot of times we were always prepared, and that's why we were able to, for the most part, be able to handle our own.
When I was in USP Lee, they ended up hitting this bulldog, right? The Norteños hit this kid. It was a bulldog. He came there. They told me he couldn't have a knife. Then he started trying to do his own thing, and they're like, look, bro, you're in our cell. You got to find a cell. And he was bucking the system like, I'm not finding the cell. I'm in that cell. That's my cell. And it was on Halloween, 2009, I think it was. And the kid comes out on the yard, man. The dude's like, hey, man, come out. We got to talk to you. They're over there talking. They got two dudes running. One of the dudes was a black dude named Boxer, I think. They're out there jogging. They stabbed the shit out of this kid. Them dudes that are jogging, the dudes that stabbed them, they throw them two dudes the knives. They keep jogging, catch them in the air. They're jogging. They discard the knives. The captain comes out screaming, yo, who's in the tower? And they ended up moving all the Norteños off of that yard. But like you said, always militant, man, them dudes. They get up in the morning, roll up their mattress. And, I was new to prison back then, and I'm like, damn, these dudes, they got their mattress rolled up, but always militant. And, I was friends with one of them kids, and he's like, man, he always talked about your awareness. Always be aware of what's going on around you. But, I mean, they definitely move and handle business when they have to, right?
Yeah, most definitely, man. I think I know who you're talking about, too. He's from Sacramento.
Who, the Bulldog?
No, the dude Boxer.
Oh, Boxer, yeah. I think he was from Sacramento. Black dude, right?
Yeah.
He was in the feds.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
That will change. The best system changed too for everybody, man, because before there wasn't many North Daniels or ANF in the system. I mean, they weren't even classified as really a prison gang. I think you had a total of maybe there, and they were doing that Cali car for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Before all the things changed, and I think it wasn't until I don't know if you've Skip from the NF.
No, I know. I mean, I think someone mentioned him to me. Same dude that probably tried to connect us.
Well, as soon as he got to Sheridan of Operation Black Widow, which was a major indictment, they indicted everybody in 2001, all the key leaderships. I mean, some treacherous individuals that have been doing this stuff since way back in the days. I mean, some killers, leadership. So they all hit the system, and a lot of the MA and the civilians that were already in the system, they didn't anticipate what was expected. So as soon as these guys were touching down in the yards, I think it all kicked off in Sheridan. When Skip got there, he was a very well-known high-ranking NF member. The Sureños tried to tell the North Daniels on the yard that they weren't going to let him off. That you guys can stay to go. And so from that point forward, they kicked it off. They kicked it off in Sheridan, and in every facility, they were not going to walk any lines with the Sureños. And that's why I think today you can kind of confirm this. The North Daniels and Sureños are separated from the feds.
Yeah. 100%. When they took the Norteños off the yard, that's when the warden, within a month, he started bringing all the Sureños over there. He brought Fox, the Black Hand, he brought Fox over there and had them all in the hole. He'd let out two or four people a day. But yeah, I mean, once they're not on the yard together, plain and simple. They just aren't. I mean, at least not when I was there. I mean, I left, 27 months ago, but that's how it was operating.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the Kid Savage Nation and YouTube and, all the things that are going on. I know you did the last interview that he had ever done with someone, right?
Yeah. Savage Studios, man. Okay, very controversial figure. He was an inactive Sureño, part of a SMY group, which is security, needs yard, which is basically what they call PC. And, he hit the YouTube and he just kind of blew up right away, right? Got over 100,000 views. And what, from me watching and observing what happened is, I don't think he anticipated, what to expect next. With having 60,000 subscribers, you get a lot of trolls, I bet. You know what I'm saying? Attacking you and this and that. It's going to happen. No matter what you say or what you do, they're going to attack you. I get it. Reaction to this he was over emotional about it. You know what I'm saying? So he started taking attacks at certain groups, pretty much putting a target on himself. Now, he was definitely no punk. He was about that action. He was ready for whatever. He took things too personal. Over a threshold to where he put a target upon himself. So, and he was killed 3 days later after I did the interview. They got the suspect. There's all kinds of different rumors. I'm not going to really talk about it because, the person's still has his day in court. You know what I mean? But yeah, Savage Studios, man, I mean, that's a big deal right now because that's the first YouTuber that's been killed, since this YouTube genre stuff has picked up, the prison genre. In California, the main channels right now are mainly Norteño and Sureño channels, right? Those are the main things that are being pushed in with the prison genre. So this is the first, murder that's happened based upon a YouTube content creator.
Let me ask you this. I know you said the dude has his day in court and, of course you can go online and read. Do you think he was killed over YouTube or do you think he was killed over, arguments on YouTube or do you think he was just killed because, hey, you're talking about the wrong people and saying the wrong things to the wrong organizations?
I think I'm going to keep the organizations out of it, from my understanding, but I think it was, he painted a picture on himself. He painted a target on himself. And he was attacking people on TikTok. With Savage Studios, man, the guy a month before, or 2 months before, was sending this individual messages. Like, you got those puppies for sale and whatnot. Now, they also had some exchange of words. So there's all kinds of speculation. What was it about? Was this an intentional thing? Was this just a spur of the moment? Was this a TikTok beef? Really, until all the information comes out, we're not going to know. But you got all kinds of people speculating. It could be a variety of reasons. A lot of people wanted to get that dude. He was probably one of the most hated individuals on YouTube.
People think, man, that, and I thought about this before, right? Like, people think, man, look, you're on YouTube, or you see dudes on Facebook, like, I've had some dudes, like, write me shit on Facebook and emails. But, man, really, man, you could end up dead over this shit, right?
Yeah, most definitely, man.
People think this is just social media, some kids having fun, or some dudes that were in prison just talking about prison stories, but man, really, your life could be on the line if you say the wrong thing, if you beef with the wrong people, or they could show up to do something to you and their life could be on the line, like what happened with, this rapper, this Sauce Walker kid. I mean, dude tries to rob him, shows up, and now he's dead. He's laying out there on the concrete, spread out, like forever gone. Your life's over with. So it's on both ends. But maybe this kid just thought that it was sweet, like, man, because, pull up, I'm ready, what's up? I'm going to take that fade. And then when they show up, man, they're not showing up to fight. They're over there shooting.
That's how it is nowadays. No one's squaring it up, man. You know what I'm saying? You got to be cautious everywhere you go. And the thing about me, Matt, is I'm going to voice my opinion, no matter what it may be. I'm going to try to do so respectfully, whether people agree with it or not. But I'm not going to live my life scared. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to just sit there just because there's a target on my back. I'm not going to sit there and not live my life. People threaten you all the time and this and that, but a lot of times you don't know what to take serious. Can it happen? Yes. But I be out there sometimes, man. I run into people. So far, I've had no issues yet, but that's not to say it won't happen. But either way, as men, right? You're always going to be prepared for what could come. But I'm not going to live my life scared just because, there's a target on my back or I'm doing YouTube or I offend somebody. Nah, it's not going to happen. And that doesn't make me a badass or anything. It just makes me a man.
No doubt.
At the end of the day, that's what people forget, man, that we're all human. That we have lives, we have families. And sometimes people don't really respect that. Sometimes they put us on a pedestal like we're supposed to be 100% perfect. So if you slip up on something or do something that people don't like, they're quick to attack you. But you know what? We're only human. And it kind of humanizes the situation. But not everybody's going to like that, man. It's like I told someone before, I can find the cure for cancer, save a bunch of kids' lives, do all kinds of things. And those same people are still not going to like it. It is what it is.
That's the one thing that I kind of find like mind-boggling, right? I guess in the mob genre, in the prison genre, you see people arguing and beefing. And, I just did 18 years. So, getting on YouTube, I didn't really understand the world, I guess you could say. I didn't think that, people would be beefing like this. But, the dudes that are doing boxing videos, they're not beefing with each other. Guys that are talking about cryptocurrency, they're not beefing. Mr. Ballin's not beefing with that other dude that's got like a million, Mr. Beast. Like these dudes aren't arguing with each other, but what they're doing is they're putting out content that people enjoy and they're making a whole lot of money, right?
Yeah.
Let me ask you this, because I'm saying it. Do you think people run out of stuff to talk about in the prison genre? So they have to beef with each other?
I don't think that's the cause of beef. I think that there's a lot of jealousy and envy at times. Sometimes people feel like another person hasn't paid their dues, or the struggle of man is what the next man. A man wanting what the next man has. So a lot of times in the prison genre, it became so oversaturated, right? When I first got into it, there was only a few channels. And I brought in a lot of people into the YouTube thing. You know what I'm saying? Like I brought in Rojo, I brought in Gunner, I brought in different people. I encouraged them to come on. I used to do interviews on stories written by a current prisoner. I started working with him when he had 5,000 subscribers. And next thing you know, we're doing interviews. I'm doing interviews on his channel. And I'm bringing people in the interview. When he blows it to 30, 40,000. So as soon as I started seeing more people coming into the prison genre, I noticed the views started to get lower, right? So everybody's competing for views at times. But instead of working with each other, right, people start to take little shots. They start to do this and do that, and it starts to forge basically a division where you have subscribers picking sides. And sometimes the biggest culprits are the subscribers in the comments. The people that will send you an IG message, talk about, oh, this person said this and that. And, there's a lot of backdoor politics that happens in the YouTube genre world. So whenever I meet a new YouTube content creator, I try to give them that advice. You know what, man? Just do you. Don't worry about having to collab with everybody, man. Don't worry about becoming best friends with the next channel. You can show respect, jump on their channels, but kind of learn to limit that interaction, because at times people will sit there and really hate on you. And they'll be the closest ones to you at times. You don't even realize it. And I've seen all kinds of things, man. Like we've had a lot of conflict in the West Coast, right?
Yeah.
And I told someone the other day, I don't mind conflict, man, but let me get some East Coast views. You know what I'm saying? Because out there in the East Coast, you guys have a little conflict sometimes on the channels, and the channels blow up a little bit. We have conflict over there. Our numbers decrease.
That's crazy. That story's written by a current prisoner. He's the channel that like I first paid attention to. I'm like, damn, I like this dude, man. I like the stuff that he's doing. The dude Tony, I do like his channel. But Jay Williams, I heard him say something in a video the other day. I don't really watch prison videos all the way through, right? I've watched a few, but recently. But I've watched his stuff all the way through. And he talked about, why would I want to argue with these dudes, man? You're doing you, I'm doing me. I got 300,000 subscribers. You got 15. You're talking shit about me. What am I doing, man? Adding fuel to the fire? I'm not responding to you. For what? I'm out here doing positive things. I'm helping out the community. I'm telling, my stories and my experiences. And for real, man, dude's got like 300,000 subscribers. And dude, he's crushing it. 1090 Jake, he's crushing it. I mean, these dudes are I don't know how we could be mad at another person that got out of prison, found something that he could do to change his life circumstances and take care of his kids and help some people along the way. I'm not mad at you for doing that. I don't understand why people get mad.
That's why I always say this, right? I'm going to use Wes Watson as an example, okay? He's a good motivational speaker. He could really encourage people. He could really inspire people. Stay in that lane. You know what I'm saying? If he stay in that lane, he got all the subscribers in the world. But when someone like me that did time that was affiliated with Christian organizations that had dealings with ABs and MAs, was around them and knows the politics. When I start to see things that are bullshit, it starts to be like, what the fuck? Just keep it real. That's a prime example. You know what I mean? And people are going to hate regardless. But see, sometimes there's those that maybe embellish their stories. You know what I mean? And that's where people start to get upset. And there's enough opportunity for people out there to make content. You know what I'm saying? So if people just stay in their lanes, you're not going to get attacks from other people. But as soon as you start to venture off outside those lanes, you're subject to be attacked. And I've never really tried to attack anybody. You know what I mean? That's one thing I've tried to really hold on to. But if I get attacked a couple of times, I clap back at people. Or if there's something that's really major that I feel needs to be addressed, I'm going to address it. But other than that, I agree. If someone's making money, this is their hustle. They found a lane, and people enjoy it. Then go be about it. No hate on my end.
Let me ask.
When you start to see,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
When you start to see narratives that are false, right? It tunes me out. When I know something's bullshit, then I'm like, man. And I haven't put that out there about a couple of channels out there, man. But it is what it is, man. People are going to do what they got to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's up to the viewers to either take it at face value or just call for what it is.
Let me ask you this, right? Now, I'm not saying this dude's stories are embellished or he's full of shit, but, because you used, you said his name, Wes Watson. Let's say he is saying something that, you find to be bullshit. Do you feel like it's your job as a prison genre YouTuber to be like, yo, man, dude's full of shit? Do you feel like that's your job to do that?
I never mentioned him right until that issue that happened with his wife. Okay? I've known a lot of stuff is inaccurate, and I'll leave it at that. I watched his shoe video. Right? He's talking about the Corcoran shoe. I've done a lot of time in Corcoran shoe. I've been all throughout that place. Before I got to the validated black, I was in 4A2 left to 4B3 left, 4B3 right, 4A1 left, all these different areas, right? I was there for years. And, when he started seeing that the Southsiders were waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning on DS and all this stuff, I'm like, dude, this dude probably never been in the shoe. He must have heard some stories because this is not what occurs in the shoe. I've been there.
Yeah.
And any Southsider will confirm this. Maybe the earliest ones getting up is maybe 5 o'clock, but they're not doing roll call till after 6 o'clock, till after that bar unlock in the morning. And that's everywhere I've been. So when you start to see things like that, yeah, I get what it is, but I never have gone on my way to attack him or anybody else, even if they're full of shit, until I seen that stuff with this lady. Once I seen that, her with all the marks and all that, whether it was true or not, it opened the door for me to sit there and address that situation, man. And, I have nothing against the dude. More power to him. Keep your hustle going. But if someone was to really ask me on a one-on-one basis what I think of him, I think he's a good motivator. He can inspire people. He needs to stay in that lane. But some of his prison stories, they don't add up. They're not accurate.
I mean, hey, I'm not mad at you. The one thing, though, that, people always, people are fascinated about prison, right? I did 18 years of my life, man, straight in prison. Not a life that I ever want to live ever again, right? And I've been in some dangerous places. I've been around some dangerous people. But, the one thing that we always talk about, man, in prison, man, don't look in that dude's cell. Mind your own business, right? And then you get dudes that seem like, a lot of prison people want to be in everyone else's business. And I'm just like, I'm not saying that about you or this cat. I'm just saying that you see that. And because we talked about the YouTube beefs and people could possibly end up, being what we see in the rap thing where people will start, shooting people and killing people and robbing people. And some of these dudes are making 100,000. Man, some of these dudes are probably making 60, 70, 80,000 a month, right?
Some of them are making decent money, man. You know what I'm saying? I can't put a quote on it, but I don't.
Well, listen, 1090. Well, hold up. Let me stop you because 1090 Jake, when I know Jumper, what'd he say? He's making 600 grand a year.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's putting you all the way up there, man. You're all the way up.
He found his lane, man. I really don't know him personally, man, but he found his lane. That's all I can sit there and say. I can't hate on that. You know what I'm saying? It's like 23-1. I can't hate on that. He found his lane as well. All these cats, what's his name? Jeremy Williams, you just mentioned, or what's his name?
Oh, the kid Jay Williams.
Jay Williams, yeah, man. He's doing his thing, man. It's just unfortunate for us out there in the West Coast that we don't get as much attention as some of these other East Coast channels, except for you had what's his name? Wes Watson, and what's the other one? Big Herc. You know what I mean? Those are like the biggest channels that you'll find out there on the West Coast. Other than that, man, all the channels are under 100,000. So the views aren't as big as you see like with Jay Williams or 23-1 or 1090 Jake. Their numbers are big, man.
I mean, I like 1090 Jake. He looked out for me. I didn't even know him at the time. He looked out for me. I've spoken to him. He's given me some advice. I like the dude. And you know what? I'm not mad at him for doing what he's doing. And, he had a recent beef recently where dudes were like, man, you shouldn't be profiting off black culture. And, man, listen, man, I felt like if that's the case, you better tell Fox and CNN to stop reporting on this shit, too. Because all them white people are writing them stories over there. So you better get at them. You know what I'm saying? They're a little bigger than 1090 Jake, CNN and Fox News.
Don't hate the hustle, you know what I mean? That's the thing, man. Anybody can get it, man. Go get it. If you find a lane that you can get your money, get your money.
No doubt. So let me ask you a couple more questions, right? What was one of the worst things you've ever seen or experienced while you were in prison in California? Because at the end of the day, everybody used to be like, man, California prisons, those are the real prisons. So what was some of the worst things that you've seen?
Let me see. I think one of the worst things that I seen or was participated is when I sliced a dude from ear to ear one time over the TV. You know what I'm saying? Gave him like 70, I think it was either 72 or 172 stitches. I forget, man. I was about 18 years old. I was in there for a drive-by shooting. And that was one of the most bloodiest things I've seen because I hit him really bad with just a small little razor blade over him changing the TV on me. You know what I'm saying? Big old dude. And I'm just a kid. I didn't get no permission back then. This is in the 90s. This is before the politics came about. And I was shocked at how much blood was all over the place. The whole thing was all over there. That was one situation. Another one I seen a dude where he hung himself. You know what I'm saying? Up in the cell. And they ended up taking him off. You know what I mean? I'm seeing it for myself. He's hung himself, right? And we're over there banging. The guards don't even come till later. He dies. I see people jump off the tier. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Literally 5 tiers. San Quentin has 5 tiers. I see someone jump off the 4th floor and just, you know what I mean? And just other than that, just a whole bunch of stabbings. But that's the norm in prison. It's the situations that you least expect, like the dude jumping off the tier or the guy hanging himself. Those are the ones that always stick out the most.
You're not living that life no more. But I want to ask you this: when you did stuff like that, or you had to stab someone, when you ripped the dude over the TV. Later that night, man, did you feel bad about it at all? Were you like, damn, man?
You know what? I'm gonna address something right now so people understand me. So I went through recovery about 6 years ago. Okay. Back then, I almost had like almost a sociopath type of mentality in a sense, where it didn't affect me or I didn't have any type of feeling towards that. I guess because I was a selfish person, I was only worried about how I felt. So later on, when I did my inventory, I don't know if you're familiar with recovery, but I did my 9 step, right, which was all the amends and stuff, and I did an inventory of everything with my sponsor. And the one thing that I noticed was that he looked at me afterwards and said, like, there was stuff I couldn't even put on the list. I'd be doing 25 to life. And some of the stuff I was telling him, he asked me, he goes, man, how do you feel about all this, man? Because I mean, it's stuff from throwing people in the trunk to kicking in doors to just, shooting people, stabbing people, all kinds of stuff. And I told him, like, that was the life that I lived at that time. How could I feel bad about a life that they weren't innocent as well? So everything that I did was just the cost of doing business and living that life. Am I proud of it? No. But am I going to dwell in it? No. I'd rather help people today not have to live that life or make the choices that I made. So I get what you're coming from on that, but when you're in prison, you have no time to really think about all that. Especially with the things that I was involved in. I mean, I'm more worried about if the canines are going to hit the cell, or if we're going to go to war, or I got to write this report or whatever it may be. So that was the least of my concern. But when I did my inventory, that was really key for me to really take a look at things that I never looked at before, about the harm and damage that I've done, the things I was involved in. And I will say this: any victim, none of them are innocent. Am I proud of that? No. But at the same time, like I said, it's the cost of doing business.
You know, I asked you that because I think my mindset was a little bit different, right? There were times when I did things in prison where I wouldn't tell no one or nothing, but where I felt bad. There was a dude that, he went around and got drunk and he used the N word. And it was, we had to do what we had to do, because if not, we'd had a race riot in there. And, they demanded blood, and it's just kind of how it worked. And we did some vicious stuff to this dude, man. And when he was screaming like, please stop, that's enough. And then he ended up getting downstairs on the bottom tier, and he's like, look what you white bitches did to me. And, we used to joke and laugh about it, but man, the way that he looked when he left the unit, man, that night, man, I felt bad for that dude, man. Even though, and what we did to him, hey, listen, it's prison, and prison politics dictate that we really smashed this dude. You know what I mean? But I felt like, man, we could have maybe been a little bit, I don't know, man. We just really did some bad shit to the dude. And I felt bad for the dude, man. I really did, man.
I've seen it in other groups where I felt bad for the person. You know what I'm saying? Where I felt like, okay, this dude was soft, he was sweet. Why did they even do that to him? What could he have possibly did just for this to have it coming? Or that, you look at some people, they're just naive. Naive isn't always is not always an excuse for one's actions, but sometimes you got to really look, different strokes for different folks. And what I mean by that is you can't put expectations on a person who doesn't know any better. So I 100% agree, man. And that's one thing I'm fortunate to say, that I always believe in trying to salvage people, instead of trying to have them hit. Yeah. So I can honestly say that any type of involvement in a hit or whatnot, or removal, there was really, according to prison politics and the things I've seen, there was really nothing that would have been considered bad. Cowardice act, time of battle, dude runs and hides in the shadows, you got to go. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Dude tries to get at homeboy's stepdaughter that's 15 years old, you got to go. Those were the kind of decisions that, like I said, that I made. But if it was another issue, I'm not going to make a call. If I can salvage the person, that is first and foremost the most important thing that you can do, because there's dudes that get in positions of leadership that just want to have people hit. And I'll tell you this, about those that do that, they're going to be the first ones to either drop out or get hit.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen that with some of the ABs and the feds, man. They ended up, we had some bad dudes in different places, and they were leaders and ordering people to get hit over there, and he ends up dead. But anyway, you also go out there on the street and you talk to these people, and I know you talked about helping people recover. I've been going out in the street, like I mentioned earlier, talking to people. I went to prison, man. I was a crack dealer, right? I got a 40-year sentence. Trump changed the law. I ended up doing 18 years. If he didn't change the law, I'd still be in there. I wouldn't be here talking to you. But I do feel like I want to give back sometimes. I go out there and try and help them. I feed them. Hey, man, you want to go to a rehab center? I had an 18-year-old kid the other day I seen flipping out. I put a short video up about it. I'm driving by and I see him, so I interviewed a kid. And I find out, man, he's 18 years old. You're 18 years old out here on that Fetty, man. I said, hey, you want to go home? Your mother cares about you. Nah, I'm not ready. I like doing what I'm doing. I'm like, wow. So when you're out there talking to these people, right? I mean, do you feel like, have you been able to get any of them to a rehab center or help them out?
I've had a few, man. But first and foremost, man, I'm glad you mentioned that about Trump. So I personally didn't, as a person, I think he's narcissistic. I think he has an ego. But as a president, some of the things that he changed really helped a lot of those that were locked up, man. And people need to appreciate that and commend him for doing that. Because there'd be a lot of people that'd be still locked up if he didn't make those choices. And I don't like the dude. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being transparent though about it. Okay, so when I go out there, man, it's very sad, man. This fentanyl thing, I've never seen anything like it before, man. I've ran into people that, they're out there, selling their bodies. They're out there, being attacked by men. Just the worst of the worst that you're seeing these things, man. And so when you get at these people, this fentanyl thing is 9 times stronger than heroin. Okay, the kick off it is the worst, they say. So it's hard to get them to want to kick that habit. You know, and the bad thing about it is it all started with their counterfeit pills. They're basically like, they're fake. They've been using the M30s, which are basically Percocets, right? But over there in Mexico, what they're doing is they're putting fentanyl in them, and they're putting food dye and all this other stuff. And they're just basically fake pills. They're counterfeits. That's how that one rapper Mac Miller died.
Yeah.
He thought he was getting some Percocets, and he got actually a fentanyl pill. He died. Okay, so I have videos where I'm talking to people about recovery. They say they're tired of it, but it's hard to really get them to commit. You know what I'm saying? And so sometimes it's sad because, and I've also had people say, "Hey, you're benefiting off exploiting them." I said, "Well, you know what? I just had a mother on my channel last week talking about her daughter dying. I just had another dude that has 12 years clean. So I try to show both sides to everything. So when I go out there and do these interviews, I always try to counsel them. I offer them if they want to get taken to a detox center. Very few have took me up on that offer, which is sad. So you can't force anybody to do anything when it comes to recovery. They got to hit that rock bottom, met with loneliness and desperation, and be tired of being tired. Then you can actually help someone, and I've experienced it because, I went through that time. When I left that past lifestyle, I went through about a 7-year period where I was really out there like a drug addict. Not a drug addict like these guys because I still made my money, but I was suffering the same. So I get it. So, it's sad sometimes because, you feel for these people. You become, you have empathy because I know what they're going through. But I've never been one that was hooked on that fentanyl, so I could never understand, how much control it has over these people, man. And, places like Arizona, California, you go nowadays, right? Instead of people having like, backpacks and all kinds of stuff, they just got the clothes on their backs. And I ask them, where do you sleep? They say, oh, a garbage can, a bench, under that tree, in front of that business. It's not like they have like tents that they're living in a tent by a creek or nothing like that. They're just out there in the streets, finding anywhere they can sleep, and they're just laying their head right there. They have nothing more than the clothes they have on their back.
Yeah.
And it's sad. And the law enforcement, they just cruise out right by. They don't even worry about it. I'm out there doing interviews. I'm out there doing interviews, right, with the cops right there, and these guys are hitting either a meth pipe or some oil with some fentanyl. And the cops are right there, not even worried about it. I'd be right there, and you see the most random person, right, that you would least expect, coming at you asking for pills. That's how bad that fentanyl stuff is getting right now, man. And, I'm like I told you before, I'm coming out in a documentary that's going to be coming out. It's called 1 Second at a Time. And it's supposed to be a high-profile documentary. And it's going to be good. It's really going to bring forth a lot of attention, to this epidemic because right now, this country, they're not addressing it. It needs to be addressed because it's only going to get worse.
100%. I see it every day in my neighborhood, man. I'm going to get ready to close the show, but is there anything you want to say before we get ready to go?
No, man, I appreciate coming on. I've been wanting to do this for a minute, man. I enjoy the channel. Everybody out there, please subscribe. Convicts Perspective, man. Pictures of Reality. And I hope to see you guys all soon.
And I'll definitely leave the link, man. And, talking to you, I think, and people listening, they can tell you're an intelligent dude, man. I mean, and your content is good. And you talk to people, you do good things. And anytime you're doing good things, then I think people should promote you. And I think people should go subscribe to your channel and check you out. If they like your content, they're going to stick around. If they don't, with all of us, if they don't like what we're doing, then they ain't going to stick around. But anyway, man, I definitely appreciate you coming on, sharing your stories, sharing your experiences. And, I think I mentioned this to you, but when I seen you interview that Savage kid, I was like, damn, man, that made me say, man, I had a different perspective. Like, man, this dude's a good dude, man. I felt like you were a good dude. You know what I mean? And I'm usually got good insight on people, man.
I'm gonna address that real quick. A lot of dudes were not giving this dude the benefit. They wanted to stay away from him. You know what I'm saying? Or they would have secret conversations, but they didn't want the backlash for interviewing him. I said, you know what, man? Let me go interview this dude, man, and talk to him and see where his head's at. And I went over there and met him as a person, not the outer external person that you see on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? That's the Savage Studios. When I got to see him for who he was as a person. And I don't think he was a bad dude. He was just young. Got caught up in the mix, got caught up in his feelings at times. And I don't wish that upon anybody. That for me right there was, like I told him on the phone, I said, look, man, I don't care if I get backlash for interviewing you. I want to hear your story. And then everybody has said that that's one of his best interviews that he's done.
You know what
Best interview.
you know what the thing was with him? I think, kind of what you said is he dealt with emotions and not intelligence, man. And, being in prison, a lot of times we grow physically, but we don't grow mentally. And I think he was young-minded. But when you talk to him, all that rah-rah shit, man, that's all good for, for the moment. But, I think deep in his heart, man, like he loved his dog. He had some compassion. He wasn't that rah-rah dude. Would he fight and get busy? Yeah, I think he would. And I seen him square up out there on the boardwalk in someone's video or whatever. But, at the end of the day, man, I think deep in his heart, man, he really wasn't the dude that he was pretending to be. And the key is this. This is the key. And I want people, because I always give a message at the end. This is what it is. The image that you project is the image that you have to protect. And he projected this image that I'm this dude, man. I'm a gangster. I don't give a pull up. I'm all the way with it. And I mean, on that day he was lacking. He probably didn't even have a gun.
I got messages from him, right? You'll be shocked of how his attitude has changed when I told him that you want to do this, because we were gonna start doing some stuff every 2 weeks because he was getting motivated. He told me he wanted to change his image, and he also told me about if he could change anything, he probably wouldn't have did YouTube because YouTube affected his whole life. He lost his wife, he lost his son, all the stuff that came, the benefits that came early, where he was getting all those views going viral, right? It ended up affecting him. Because like he explained to me, he goes, I was looking at a door, he told me. This was a good analogy. He goes, when he got out, he goes, in that door, I kept on looking behind it. Through that door came my wife. Through that door came my son. Through that door came my success. But instead of me focusing on this, he said, I kept on looking on the other side of the door. And he goes, you know what happened? My wife left, my son left, and the success left. And so he really wanted to change, like I said, man, from talking to him, man, I really like the dude, man. I thought that he had a little misrepresented image, a little bit, but he created that, though. No one else did. He did. And I think he was trying to repair it. And his biggest mistake was, and this goes for any YouTube creator that starts to get success, how you react to the hate is going to dictate how people perceive you.
Well, I think that's the message today, man. Again, I definitely appreciate you coming on. I'm going to tell people, man, if you like what we're doing, make sure you leave a message. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave a comment, and make sure you share the video. I think there's important stuff in this video. And make sure you go subscribe to A Convict's Perspective and check out his other channel, With Respect, Blood on the Razor Wire TV. Until tomorrow, we're out.